This week on Supercars Talk, I discuss IndyCar testing and testicular cancer. So the big news this week, looks like someone stuffed up with their dates organising the New Zealand event. Apparently there was a new rule brought in by the Auckland Council a few years ago. You're not allowed to have a motor racing event on Anzac Day. I don't think it's specific to motor racing events. I think it has something to do with events that you pay money for. You're not allowed to have them on Anzac Day. So the Supercars are going to go to Hampton Downs. It's a track that's owned by Tony Quinn, who is the guy who owns like Darryl Lee Chocolates and the Sticks and VIP Pet Foods and that. They were a sponsor for Techno when Shane Van Gisbergen was there. You've probably seen his name mentioned. He's a big kind of motorsport enthusiast. Anyway, he owns the Hampton Downs track. Apparently it's about 15 minutes down the road from Pukekohe, so it's not far for everyone to travel. I think they're honouring, if anyone has a ticket for Pukekohe, I think you just rock up at Hampton Downs and get in, or if you're unhappy with that, I think they're offering refunds, things like that. I think the big thing is Hampton Downs hasn't got the spectator facilities there that Pukekohe has. That's from what I hear. I've never actually seen a race at Hampton Downs. Apparently it's good facilities. I've heard mixed reports. I might need to look into this more. You've got one camp of people saying, it's the best thing in the world, this is great. And then you've got a lot of people saying, it's the death of supercars, blah, blah, blah. My concern is apparently it's a bit like the Bend, which is a great driver's circuit, not so good for racing. Will be interesting to see. As I said, I haven't seen cars racing around there. I saw a bit of a track map, but it's hard to tell on the track maps because certain times you look at a track map, like a lot of people looked at the Baku circuit for Formula One. I went, this is going to be horrendous. And that's actually proved to be a really good race the last few years. So anyway, Supercars are going to be at Hampton Downs instead of Pukekohe this year. There's talk that maybe, see how this goes, and maybe the tracks will alternate in the future. Not a bad idea. Pukekohe always produced good racing, so I'd love to see Pukekohe stay because of that. But I'm also, maybe Hampton Downs be even better. There's been talk of possibly doing a double header in New Zealand. Now, ever since I'm a bit too young to know about the Nissan Mobile series that kind of ran 80s, very early 90s. I don't actually have any recollections of that, but I do remember the Supercars at the end of 96 they went over to New Zealand and raced at Pukekohe and then raced at Wellington, which was the last time I think the Wellington race was actually held. I think it was 12 cars went over. It was a very small field. Greg Murphy did a lot of winning, taking over Lowndes' car. Now the thing there is with the double header that there's some distance between Pukekohe and Wellington. Now I know the New Zealanders love their motorsport, but if the tracks are only a 15-minute drive apart, I can't see a heap of fans going to Pukekohe one weekend and then them all going to Hampton Downs the next weekend, or maybe, I'm not sure the crowd numbers, say there's 50,000 at Pukekohe, you might get 25,000 at Pukekohe, 25,000 at Hampton Downs or something like that. There will be some people that go to both, but you're very much diluting, and it's would be a lot for people to do back-to-back weekends of racing and things like that. So I can't see there being a double header with Pukekohe and Hampton Downs. Maybe if there was a return to Hamilton or something like that, it's possible. I'm not sure on the distances apart, but I'm sure even like Victoria, like there's a fair whack of distance between, say, Sandown, Winton, Phillip Island. I'm sure if you ran back to back, with Sandown and Phillip Island, it would hurt. So yeah, people coming out and saying about this, let's have a double header in New Zealand, probably need to put a little bit more thought into it before they open their mouths about it. The VCAT testing is over for another year. They went and tested a Mustang next to a Commodore before Christmas. They decided that they weren't quite happy with the results. Maybe Roland came along and said, "Hey, the Commodore's not faster than the Mustang. You need to look into this." Take the tinfoil hat off and get back into the real world. They just wanted to verify the results, make sure everything was, after last year, this is the closest everyone's ever been, and then all of a sudden, the shitstorm we had last year. So they went and retested them. 888 and Penske went out again, driving their car up and down the runway. They had their adjustable the adjustable shocks and that, so they could change them on the run and whatever, and apparently all the testing's done, and now parity is going to be perfect for this year, so that's the last we're ever going to have to talk about parity, which is great. Watch this space on that one. This week, our reigning champion Scott McLaughlin got a really special birthday present off his boss Roger Penske, and he got to drive an IndyCar. This wasn't as, it's not as simple as what it sounds. Like in Supercars, IndyCar has really strict testing restrictions. It's not quite as bad as what Supercars is, but they have very limited days. But what you can do is if you throw a rookie into the car, you can go and test, and I think you might even get, if you have a rookie test day, you might even get an extra half a day for your normal drivers, something like that, to try and encourage people to put rookies in the car. An interesting thing though is that the bigger teams are like Penske, they haven't really taken advantage of this. It's more, you see probably the smaller teams where they get some young bloke to give them some money to have a drive for the day, which bumps up their income for the year. But anyway, so McLaughlin being a rookie, he got to go out and he was testing parts for the team. Like it was a genuine test. Will Power, Joseph Newgarden and Simon Pagenaud were all there on hand, listening to his feedback and that. Will Power's come out and said, McLaughlin's feedback was really useful. You don't know how true all this stuff is, or them just talking it up. Apparently might not be just a one-off. Maybe the McLaughlin to NASCAR thing might turn into McLaughlin in IndyCar. Possibly would be easier to slot him into a couple of IndyCar races during the year, the way I'm not sure on the whole NASCAR system, but with IndyCar, you can, if you want to just rock up with the car, you can rock up and off you go. There's no applying for a wild card or any, kind of the crap we kind of put up with here. You can just rock up. Their system's a bit different. They have this leader circle money thing, which that's if you do a full season the year before, you get your money, and if you just go and do a couple of races or whatever, you don't get part of that leaders circle money. So if if Penske wants to put on a fourth car at a couple of races, like they've put on a fourth car last couple of years for Helio at the Indy Grand Prix and at Indy, they're quite possible they could put on a fourth car for McLaughlin at a couple of races. Probably won't see them run a fifth car at Indy though. I wouldn't have thought. I think if he does appear somewhere, it'll be somewhere else, a bit quieter to start off with. All is well at Team Sydney, according to Jonathan Webb and Sean Seamer. Of course they're going to say, they're not going to come out and go, "Oh, we're in trouble here, we're not going to be on track." Depends who you hear from. A week or so ago, I heard Team Sydney dead. That's it. And I said, well, what happens with, Techno has to run at least one car this year. And they were, no, the whole thing's dead. I think we're going to see at least Techno on the grid this year to keep it ticking along in some way. Apparently everything's on track according to the boss of Supercars and Jonathan Webb. Be interesting to see what happens. Still no announcement whether it really will be two cars or not. Nothing about a second driver. Have they got a second car in place? We know they've got the Techno tank that Jack LeBrock was puttering around in last year. There's supposed to be a new car from Triple Eight. Is that on its way? We're not really that far from the start of the season yet. So, in all part of this, the rumours are that Courtney has signed on as Mostert's co-driver for the endurance races at Walkinshaw and Andretti United. I had also heard a rumour that this is why they haven't announced Bryce Fullwood as the main driver of there's a car 22, I assume. Now, this is what I've heard is that Courtney will be back in car 22 this year as a full-time driver, and Fullwood's kind of being shuffled as a co-driver for one of those two cars. Whether any of this is true, because Jono Webb and Sean Seaver come out and said Sydney's all go, Courtney's there, no questions asked kind of thing. So watch this space on that one. Speaking of Walkinshaw and Andretti United, Mobil has signed on as co-naming rights sponsor again. I think it was 27 years now. They've been, either naming or co-naming rights sponsor there. It's great to see. I was told prior to Christmas I wasn't allowed to, they wouldn't tell me who the sponsor was, but I was told Walkinshaw has a blue chip sponsor that is not a car brand, say. It's not like, it's not a Holden Ford, it's not a Mobil, etc., etc. This really kind of hurts that rumour. But I have heard a rumour that a new tool company was coming in to join, who we got? Milwaukee. I was going to say DeWalt, but that hasn't been announced yet. Milwaukee and Irwin on the grid. Oh, did I let something else slip? I did hear another tool brand was also coming in. If they're co-naming rights with Mobil at Walkinshaw, that does make a bit more sense. Suppose all this is going to come out in the next couple of weeks, and from what I'm hearing as well, it looks like they're all going to just release their liveries at the Bend, the test at the Bend, just before Adelaide. So, why aren't some teams releasing their liveries now? Like, I can understand if people are still trying to put deals in place and that, but Red Bull or Penske or something like that, get your livery out there now, get maximum kind of coverage on it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me that everyone waits until the last second and then they all release them at the same time, and then you're only going to care maybe about your favourite team or something because there's just this overload in the last couple of days. Okay, it does generate a bit of, but you could be the news cycle for a whole 24, 48 hours or something, that everyone in supercars, the big media conglomerates we are, doing little videos in our shed. But, you could be the main story for that week kind of thing. So, anyway, that's my little rant about that for today. And on what could have possibly been a sad story, but now is probably a precautionary tale. Super 2 driver Thomas Randle had a tumour removed from his ball sack. I don't know the full details, but he should be fine for Adelaide now. All's looking well. And he's going to become an ambassador for kind of testicular cancer. And, it does just show you that, even though you're a young, fit bloke, you can still get sick. So us middle-aged, unfit blokes, maybe we should really look out for this stuff. So yeah, great to see Thomas is going to be okay. He seems like a great character. I think he's going to do great things in Super 2 this year. He's going to try and win his $400,000 check and move up to the main game next year. So can't wait to see you on track in Adelaide, Thomas. So that's all the news for this week. Over the next few weeks, going to try and do a few more kind of special episodes as we head into Adelaide. And then the racing will just come thick and fast, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about racing and incidents and things like that this year, and not worry about the parody so much, because apparently they've got it perfect. So until next time, I'll see you later.
I know you're terrified by what the future lies, but there's no compromising. It's my way or the